You're watching WALA Channel 10, the station that brings you more news more often. This is Action News 10 Saturday morning with Amy Greer, Don Davis with weather, and Charles Johnson from Pensacola. Live, this is Action News 10.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Greer.
And I'm Don Davis. Welcome to Action News 10 Saturday morning. Today,
and a beautiful Saturday morning it is, Don.
It is. It's going to be very nice out there. Very spring-like. I think spring arrives on the 20th, which is about 2 weeks away, but we're getting a preview out there this morning.
A nice sneak preview. We're going to hear more on that in a moment.
Exactly.
Right. Today we've got the latest on the Michael Griffin murder trial. State environmentalists are naming names on just who's mucking up Mobile Bay. And we'll reintroduce you, Don will, to a wood carver with an amazing talent. That's all coming up this Saturday, March 5th. But first, our top story. Lawyers for both sides will have their final say today before a Pensacola jury decides the fate of Michael Griffin. That's after a day of testimony yesterday that saw the suspect break down and cry. Sobbing and wiping his eyes, Michael Griffin cried as he heard anti-abortion leader John Burt describe how he showed Griffin aborted fetuses. On the stand, Burt said he had no part in the murder of Dr. David Gunn.
What was your reaction that morning, March 10th? When you found out that somebody, or you had been told that the doctor had been shot?
Shocked that something like that had happened.
The defense rested its case late yesterday without testimony from Griffin. The crew of a sailboat is lucky to be back in Mobile this morning, but the boat wasn't so fortunate. Take a look at these pictures. You may remember the Coast Guard cutter Cushing was towing the Off the Hook to the port city. The two men on board kept trying to pump water out, but eventually they had to abandon ship. The Cushing's commanding officer put it best.
What happened is we just plain old ran out of time. We couldn't get that boat back to Mobile Bay fast enough. The damage that she had sustained in the storm, apparently the keel was splitting out from underneath this boat, and even with 3 pumps on board capable of taking more than 300 gallons a minute of water out of the ship, we couldn't keep up with the flooding, and eventually it sank on us.
The 2 men on board were on their way home after a missionary trip to the Honduras when the sailboat started foundering 280 miles south of Mobile. The crew of the Off the Hook arrived in Mobile late yesterday aboard the Cushing and went home. Well, a 5-year-old girl is her family's hero tonight. She very may well have saved their lives. 13 members of the family were staying at this home in Mobile, the home of a relative who recently died. Everyone was sleeping when in the middle of the night, the 5-year-old woke up complaining she was feeling sick. She woke everyone else up just in time. Investigators later found out the family was being exposed to heavy amounts of carbon monoxide. All the family members are okay this morning after being treated at a hospital. We're told the carbon monoxide was coming from a floor furnace. Now here's the bizarre twist to this story. The family was in town for the funeral of the woman who lived in the house. That woman recently died, and investigators now say it could have been from carbon monoxide poisoning. Well, it's something you don't hear too often from the telephone company, but South Central Bell has a spring present coming your way. Alabama customers will see lower rates by early April. That's because the telephone company's earnings were more than the Public Service Commission allows. The folks at Money Magazine just gave away one of the Eastern Shore's best-kept secrets, that Fairhope is a great place to live, especially if you're retired. The brand new issue of Money Guide rates Fairhope the 2nd best city in America for senior citizens. The magazine praises the city as a congenial and lively city where flowers bloom in window boxes year-round. The magazine lists only Prescott, Arizona, ahead of Fairhope. Well, it's time to get down to work for the crew of the Space Shuttle Columbia this morning. The astronauts are beginning their 2nd day of a 2-week mission. Today's assignment, working with a vacuum sac to improve circulation in their legs in the weightlessness of space. And it's more hard luck for the hard luck girl of the Winter Olympics, Tanya Harding. This time, a new bizarre twist to her troubles. The skater reportedly was attacked outside her apartment in Portland, Oregon. Harding suffered 2 broken ribs and a black eye. Investigators say the wooded area is normally safe, and they believe she was singled out in that attack. Right now, we check in with our Charles Johnson in our Pensacola Bureau. Charles, I believe you've got more on the Michael Griffin story.
That's right, Amy. We spoke about the Michael Griffin trial a little earlier. Closing arguments should begin in about 20 minutes. The defense is going to say that Griffin became upset after seeing anti-abortion literature and videos. And after he became upset, he confessed to killing Dr. David Gunn, even though he didn't do it. Prosecution, of course, is going to use the fact that Griffin did admit killing Gunn on more than one occasion. We'll have an update on the Griffin trial in our next news segment. Back to you, Amy.
Thank you very much, Charles. And when we come back, let's first look at your weekend weather. Also, James Gordon takes us out west of the Grand Canyon. It's 9/11 on this Saturday morning. Stay with us.
Well, I know a lot of folks are planning on going to the beach this Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I think I'd be heading that way if we weren't here in the studio this morning, Don.
Yeah, got a lot of that spring fever running rampant out there. I think it's going to be pretty nice at the beaches, too. Let's start with the beach forecast and get you updated this Saturday morning on that. Look for lots of sunshine at Gulf Shores, even in Biloxi Beach today, and all the way to Fort Walton Beach. 75 will be the average temperature along the coast. If you're going to get in the water, put on that wetsuit. 62 degrees in the water. That is definitely on the chilly side. Let's look across the region right now at the numbers. Basically 55 in Chatham, 60 in Atmore, 59 in McDavid, 58 degrees in Mobile. Temperatures aren't bad at all. In fact, everyone is hovering right around the 60-degree mark, which is comfortable, but by mid-afternoon, folks, it's going to be hot. We're looking at mid-70s for our daytime highs today, so over the next couple of hours, the temperature will continue to rise. The humidity will also rise. It's at 72% right now, which you really don't feel it, but by late afternoon, you will start to feel it as it approaches about 80 to 85% today. Right now, the winds are calm and our barometer is rising, indicating a very large area of high pressure in place. Here's the specific forecast for this Saturday morning. Look for clouds and sunshine, a lot of sunshine at times today with very mild temperatures. Look at this. The highs today will be all the way into the mid-70s. It feels like springtime. Southwest winds will be blowing at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tonight, look for more and more clouds to build into the region. It's going to be a comfortable evening, though, with lows tonight in the low 50s. So you will probably need that AC in the afternoon, but you can give it a rest for this evening. Here's the extended forecast, and unfortunately, we have some rain to report, Amy. On Monday evening, the rain will move in. On Tuesday and Wednesday, we're looking for strong thunderstorms. You may remember back to midweek when we had those severe thunderstorms and about 5 inches of rain in Mobile and Pensacola.
Oh, yeah.
We may see that again this week. It may be pretty rough, but for now, the beach looks great. Pack that sunscreen.
And the wetsuit.
Yeah, wetsuit.
Appreciate that advice. Thanks, Don. Great weather here today and out west as well. If you're planning a vacation, James Gordon says, plan ahead if you're visiting one of America's greatest attractions.
All right, the Grand Canyon is celebrating its 75th anniversary this month as a national park, and it's getting so popular you have to make reservations soon. Travel reporter Paul Ryan shows us why this is the perfect time to visit the park.
277 miles long, 18 miles wide, a mile deep. 2 billion years of erosion to create the Grand Canyon.
I think it shows the power of Mother Nature. As my husband said, it's a religious experience.
Grand Canyon National Park is 4 hours by car north of Phoenix or east of Las Vegas. If you plan to spend the night, you'll find motels outside the park and lodging on the canyon rim inside the park. Make reservations well in advance. 5 million people came last year, most in late May through mid-September.
Welcome to the Grand Canyon.
Although they rattle the quiet you've come here to find, a helicopter ride above the canyon is an exhilarating experience. $75 per person for a half-hour flight. Much quieter and much slower are mule rides into the canyon. One-day trips cost $88. There are rafting trips through the canyon on the Colorado. These run May through October. A 5-day trip, about $1,200.
I don't know what to say. It's kind of, wow.
There is no charge to just look at the canyon, but even this can be dangerous. Last year, 7 visitors fell to their deaths. Like this man, they ignored safety barriers to retrieve coins. The fall is a long one. For this 75th anniversary year, the park plans no major events except for some exhibits and a chamber music festival in September. The canyon itself is the ongoing event.
That park reservation system probably won't go into effect until next summer. Now, still, if you're going to stay overnight, you'll need hotel accommodations about 6 months in advance.
Thanks, James. Well, shopping for fruit may be getting more difficult these days, but hunting down a mate might be a little easier. Opening lines for the 90s when we come back. Stay with us. For some people, it's simply love at first sight, but for others, searching for a mate seems to take forever. Our weekend consumer reporter Bob Gripp tells us we may have been looking for love in all the wrong places.
If you're single and fed up with the usual way of meeting people, you might consider something that has become acceptable in the 90s, personal ads. Nowadays, every local newspaper is playing Cupid, and for just a few bucks, you might find Mr. or Miss Right. But as always, you need a good line.
I put myself in the classified ads. Brown hair, 5'4", 13.
Bellevue singer-songwriter Tina Lear put herself in the classified ads because she was new to town, unknown, and lonely. As a divorced mother of 3, she says she needed to meet somebody who understood. Her newly recorded song has a melancholy sound.
And I'm looking for love in the classified ads.
I was really I was.
And she was not alone. Hundreds, thousands of others are using the personals as an alternative to bars, friends, and fate.
Classified ads may help you.
It's more acceptable now.
What's your telephone?
Pride and embarrassment are breaking down.
Oh, people may be still too embarrassed to admit that they met someone through the personals, but it's much more acceptable.
This is getting to be big business, so much so that mainline newspapers like the Seattle Times, even the Washington Post, are beginning to carry these kinds of personal ads. The ads make money for the papers, but they work for the customers. Ask Tina Lear.
Absolutely. I'm living with the man. We own a house. We're going to be married.
And she did it about a year ago with an ad that starts, Learjet woman with a subway soul, Maserati body and a heart of gold. Maserati body?
Okay, so I exaggerated. It's an 82 Mercedes with reupholstered seats.
And here's her guy. He liked her ad and her voice over the voicemail. And when they met, it was almost instant attraction. You look very, very happy.
I am more happy than I've ever been.
John Sandifer for NBC News.
Men seem to like this approach more than women because the bottom line is they're saving money on that first date.
You know, Don, have you ever used the personals before?
Yes, I have, Amy. That's how I found you.
And how would you describe yourself in a personal ad?
No comment. There's not enough room, I don't think, in those.
We'll get back with that later. I think we want to keep our FCC license for now.
That's probably true.
All right, thanks, Don. And prompter's not quite, hello. It was a big night in local sports last night as March Madness is officially underway. Lance Crawford has all the highlights.
To talk about, it was Randall Kid Galahad Yonker taking on Mike, the body snatcher McCallum. We're looking at highlights right here in the 3rd round. Yonker in the black trunks actually landing some pretty good punch, but McCallum really dictating the fight. Go on to the 5th inning. Yonker on the ropes. McCallum throwing the left, the right, the right, the left. And he's just measuring Yonker, and finally the big left on the chin. That staggers Yonker. And then a little bit later in the 5th round, McCallum showing why he's called the body snatcher. The left to the side. Down goes Yonker. Down goes Yonker. Late in the 5th, Yonker just hanging on by a thread. Finally, the 3rd man in the ring, Joe Cortez, has seen enough. He steps in. Mike McCallum, a 5th round knockout of Mobile's Randall Yonker. Well, if we can survive that, let's go to basketball. It was the LaFleur Rattlers taking on Central Tuscaloosa last night in the 6A state title. You're looking at Central Tuscaloosa's Mike Duff, the Showtime slam dunk. We go into overtime. LaFleur up 2 until Tuscaloosa's Andre McCanstry buries that in. But wait a minute, we've got 9 seconds. Ernest Gwynn's got the ball. He dribbles up, half court, throws it up. Can it? Maybe. Yeah! It's good! And the Rattlers win. The Rattlers win. The Rattlers win. 57-54. They will play for the 6A title tomorrow against Selma. Okay, scoreboards real quickly. The Floors girls also in there in the championship game. They knocked off Central Tuscaloosa 74-61. They will take on Austin, and the news is very bad for St. Paul's. They lose to Central Florence in the 3A championship. Sorry to hear that. That will do it for sports for this segment, but we will see you a little later in the show.
All right, thanks a lot, Lance. And when we come back, Don, you've got a weekend forecast?
Right, weekend forecast, including the golf forecast. A lot of people may want to go out and hit the greens today.
Do you play golf?
A little bit. Do you?
No, I like to drive the cart, though.
Yeah, I bet you're good at that. It's probably what I do best, too, out on the green. But yeah, we'll have the golf forecast when we come back, plus a city-by-city forecast with temperatures including Ovette, Mississippi.
Oh, great. One of my favorite spots. Thanks. And you couldn't ask for much better weather along the Gulf Coast this morning. Absolutely beautiful. And Don's here to tell us all about it. Don?
Yeah, we could ask for it, but it's not going to get any better. It's going to be a beautiful day along the coast with spring-like temperatures. Let's start with the extended forecast, something different, and show you what's going to happen. By tomorrow, clouds will move into the picture. By Monday, it's going to get wet. And by Tuesday and Wednesday, we are looking for strong, possibly severe thunderstorms. If you remember midweek last week, we had the same thing happen with very, very strong thunderstorms in the area. The same thing could happen again this week, so don't put that umbrella too far out of reach. Moving on, downtown Mobile right now, we're looking at about 58 degrees. The humidity's 72%. We have calm winds and a rising barometer. Temperature-wise, it is very comfortable out there right now, but by mid-afternoon, it's going to be much warmer. In fact, with the sunshine, the temperatures will warm up all the way into the mid to upper 70s along the coast, and it is going to feel like springtime. Spring officially arrives on March 20th, which is roughly about, what, 2 weeks away, but it will feel like spring out there today. If you want to hit the golf course out there today and you're lucky enough to get a hole-in-one at Mobile Country Club, look for sunny skies with southwest winds anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour. A great day to be out on the golf course. Here's your specific forecast, though. Clouds and sunshine with mild temperatures, mid-70s for the highs with southwest winds at 5 to 10. For tonight, more clouds and comfortable readings with lows down into the lower 50s and light winds. And for Sunday, look for mostly cloudy skies. A big change for tomorrow with a 20% chance of rain, and the highs tomorrow will be only in the lower 70s to upper 60s with southeast winds anywhere at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Shifting gears for a moment, we'll take a look at Gulf Coast Postcard. Gulf Coast Postcard tonight does revisit an old friend. Tonight we're going back inside the woodcarving workshop of master craftsman Noah Turner. The last time we dropped in on Noah, he was carving a life-size statue, and that was more than 2 years ago. Well, just a few months ago, Mr. Turner put the finishing touches on his most touching work of art. Gulf Coast Postcard brings you greetings from Mobile County.
That's just like music to your ear. Smell it is.
Noah Turner's mallet bangs to the beat of an old familiar tune. For 7 short years, this master carver has listened to the music and followed the beat of his mallet. This is where the journey led.
I'd watch him and look at him and change it a little bit every day for some days there, and till I got him looking at the right feeling. It had not just a face up there, you got to bring the feeling out.
Capturing that emotion is Noah Turner's art. Using a red cedar canvas, Mr. Turner has carved a piece of history.
These are all separate, all just like chains, all in here. Out of red cedar, out of this one whole tree here that was about 22, 24 inches around. And this tree was probably 150 years old. And it was growing back during slavery. He's brought tears to my eyes, even putting the tears in his eyes, but that's what he tried to express what we feel is there. I just felt it's something I wanted to express, and really, I don't know, it was down in me, and I just felt like I should show this.
What he's showing is a life lesson. Mr. Turner says there's a powerful message in his latest carving.
If you just touch one kid about the dope and stuff like that, and alcohol, and don't, so they won't be a slave. If they take that crack and stuff like that, they won't be a slave, same as this fella. But this is a fine fella here.
Anyway, Amy, one footnote, that tree that Mr. Turner carved, yeah, the package was supposed to go a little longer there, came from an old Loxley, Alabama plantation, and that tree was blown over during Hurricane Frederick. It's been in storage for about 13 years.
I like the observation he made, Don, about the fact the tree was really alive and growing during the time of slavery.
150 years ago.
You can see the passion man really feels alive. But what if anybody wants to see the tree, or the statue?
They can see it coming up at the Fairhope Arts and Crafts Show. I think that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and he will have it on display. He's been a long-time carver at that show, and a big display there. Folks will be able to see him there.
Oh,
and
great.
as always, if we want to hear from you. Send me information if you have an idea we can feature on a future postcard. Send me the information to the addresses on the screen. Action News 10, PO Box 1548, Mobile 36633.
All right, thanks a lot, Don. Sure. Well, now that the Nancy Kerrigan-Tanya Harding affair seems to be coming to an end, we can all get back to the real gossip mecca, Hollywood. Our movie critic, Jason Berry, will soon be charging popcorn and sodas to the company expense account.
Good morning, everyone. Jason Berry here with this week's movie review. The movie review clips aren't quite here at Channel 10 yet, so this week I, Jason Berry, entertainment maven, of course, will bring you canned goods from the network. Here's the latest from Tinseltown.
The U.S. State Department is causing some headaches for Oscar choreographer Debbie Allen. It's refusing to allow some of her dancers into the country. Allen is putting together an Oscar dance sequence featuring music from the 5 nominees in the Best Score category. She's using performers from 8 countries, including Cuba. But authorities are refusing to give visas to 2 members of the Cuban National Ballet. The State Department spokeswoman wouldn't comment on the reason for the denial. Friends and colleagues of Oscar winner Jack Nicholson are turning out tonight in Los Angeles for a special tribute.
Within every man, there are 2 men.
Nicholson will be howling into theaters this summer in the horror film Wolf, but tonight he's getting the American Film Institute's Lifetime Achievement Award. The Black Tie Gala will also feature his Wolf co-star Michelle Pfeiffer, Sean Penn, and the brother-sister team of Warren Beatty and Shirley MacLaine. Sensible Woman director Martin Brest will also get a special honor. Barbra Streisand is putting her art collection on the block today in New York. Christie's will auction off more than 500 pieces from the singer's extensive collection over the next 2 days. The sale includes both Art Deco and Art Nouveau items. The auction house estimates the sale will raise between $3.5 and $4.5 million.
You rich?
No, oh God, no.
Not really.
No.
Dennis Leary is out for big bucks as a small-time burglar in the new comedy The Ref. He gets caught up in a nasty marital dispute when he breaks into a suburban home to evade the police. Leary and co-stars Judy Davis and Kevin Spacey are in New York tonight for the film's premiere. It opens nationwide March 11th. That's all for the E! Entertainment Report. I'm Steve Kometko.
Since this is only a run-through, there's no need to panic. Next week, I'll actually go to a movie and bring you a review, and you'll find out if the news director will reimburse me for the tickets I purchased. Have a good morning.
How did Jason get that job? What a great gig.
Yeah, really.
Popcorn, a movie.
Be nice.
Yeah. You seen a good movie lately?
You know, I got stood up on Monday. I was supposed to go out on a date, and we're going to go to the movies, but
I heard that happens to you a lot. Thanks, Don. Jason will have a review each week, and so will I, as we take a look back at the top stories of the past 7 days.
Week in Review is up next. As Saturday morning continues, we want you to stay with us.
It was a week that saw a devastating plane crash near Bay Minette. A 10-year-old prodigy graduated from college, and to some, Snow White suddenly turned into Grumpy. Those stories top our week in review. By the time rescuers arrived at the scene of the accident in Bay Minette, there was little anyone could do to save the passengers on board the tiny Cessna. 4 people died Tuesday afternoon in a crash investigators say may have been caused by severe weather. The Cessna was headed from New Orleans to Sarasota, carrying 2 men and 2 women from the New York City area. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating. 1 woman was killed and 5 others injured when a Red Cross van ran off the road in Mississippi Wednesday. The women were carrying several hundred pints of blood to a blood drive in Mississippi. All were from the Mobile area. And he may be short on stature and years, but not on smarts. 10-year-old John Doe graduated from the University of South Alabama this week with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. His next stop, Harvard Law School. And fresh from Lillehammer, it seemed Nancy Kerrigan could do no wrong. America's sweetheart had a silver medal and the world at her feet. That was until she was overheard at a parade in her honor at Disney World, calling the event the corniest thing she'd ever seen. Kerrigan's agent says she was simply upset about being forced to wear her Olympic medal. And right now we check in with our Charles Johnson in our Pensacola Bureau with another energetic report. Charles?
Thank you, Amy. The latest from Pensacola is that closing arguments are underway in the Griffin trial now. The defense says Griffin became so upset after seeing anti-abortion literature and videos that he confessed to killing Dr. David Gunn, even though he really didn't do it. The prosecution, of course, says Griffin did admit killing Gunn on more than one occasion. Therefore, he's guilty and should spend the rest of his life in jail. Now, the National Organization for Women says it will hold a vigil as soon as the jury goes out. We'll have another update on the Griffin trial in just a few minutes, Amy.
All right, thank you very much, Charles. And a little bit earlier in our newscast, you saw some of the things going on around the area this weekend, and a lot going on, of course, today. Couldn't find a better day to get out and do some of those activities. It is picture perfect beautiful outside. Don, tell us more about it.
You got that right, Amy. Flip prompter, please. It is going to be a beautiful day along the Gulf Coast with a lot of sunshine and comfortable temperatures, but some of you may be suffering from allergies like our own Amy Greer. Here is your allergy index for today. The pollen, big surprise, is high. We've got bald cypress, pine, oak, cedar, elm, grass, and hackberry. And mold spores do remain on the moderate side. So you're just going to have to sniffle and sneeze at least over the next couple of days until rain moves into the picture Monday night. Hopefully that'll wash some of this garbage out of there, and I know it's all in my throat and everyone else's as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the current readings along the Gulf Coast. Temperatures are warming up as we speak. We got 63 in Leakesville, Mississippi, Jackson, Alabama, 64. Look at Pascagoula, they're at 63 too. But the hot spot right now, Pensacola, all the way up to 67 degrees, and again, it's going to get hotter out there today with readings in the mid-70s. If you want to go to the coastal beaches, look for lots of sunshine, and again, mid-70s, water temperatures in the low 60s. Downtown Mobile at 65 degrees. We've got 75% humidity, northwest winds at 6, and a rising barometer showing us high pressure in place. Here's a national satellite scene. Look at the clouds in Texas and in Louisiana and in southern Mississippi. But if you look in northwest Florida and Alabama, the clouds are breaking up a little bit. We'll put the fronts on for you. You can see there's a big system firing up back to the west. That is gaining some strength, and this is going to be that rainmaker come early next week. This is slowly but surely diving to the southeast, moving to the northeast at times. So as this whole system gets organized and pushes through here, our rain chances dramatically increase. But again, this area of high pressure is still in control, and as winds circle clockwise around high pressure systems, we will see those southwest winds today bringing back in that moisture. Here is your forecast. Clouds and sunshine, mild temps, 74 to 76. What about tonight? Look for more clouds, comfortable readings with lows in the low 50s. Here's the extended forecast. As promised, rain will be moving into the picture late Monday night. It'll be with us on Tuesday and Wednesday as well, so pull that umbrella out. It is going to be a definitely rainy mid-week. Amy?
All right, Don, you know, that hackberry gets me every time, you know. Up next, tips from Gary Finch in the great outdoors. And the sports highlights you might have missed. Chris Caraggio's up next with Plays of the Week. 15 minutes before 10 o'clock on this Saturday morning, Chris Coraggio right now brings us the plays of the week.
You know, some people go crazy waiting 7 days for plays of the week. Others, well, you know, they couldn't bear to watch anyway. Some need smelling salts to get through it, especially when you're on the receiving end of Shaq going airborne. Man, that would have hurt, I'll tell you. Whoa, wait a minute, play that back. Did I just see a double dribble? Yeah, that was a double dribble, and there was no whistle? What's going on? What, do the referees have something obstructing their view? What's going on? Now, this was legal. I don't know how it went in. Gerald Walker with the dunk and bounces on the floor and back in. He got credit for that. How about Dominique Wilkins in a new uniform doing the same old thing? Time for inspired song titles. No, nothing from Whitesnake. But did you know that Paul Simon wrote "Slip Sliding Away" after he saw this play? You don't believe me? All right, try this one. Paul Anka, put your head on my shoulder. I don't think he had this in mind. Okay, Stevie Wonder, I just called to say I love you. This guy doesn't look too flattered. But the best of them all, Kenny Rogers, you took a fine time to leave me, loose wheel. Yeah, I don't get out much. Those are the plays of the week.
Yeah, I like that. When that happens, I hate it when that happens. I hate when my tires just roll off, you know.
Happens to you often, I bet.
It does, you know.
I've seen her drive. She does.
It's true. You think we're teasing, but we're not. Chris is definitely the music maestro. That was a lot of fun.
He is. He's a big Billy Joel fan.
But you don't listen to music much, do you? You're kind of a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
All right.
Moving on, Amy, if you haven't been outside yet, and I'm sure you haven't, it's a terrific day, and if you love the outdoors, check out Gary Finch's, Amy Greer's boyfriend's tip, and this week's Great Outdoors.
The weather's getting warmer, and people are starting to talk about fishing, and there's no better time than right now to start getting your equipment ready for the upcoming fishing season. Hi folks, I'm Gary Finch. You know, one of the first things that people tend to forget is to check their emergency flare kit. Now in this flare kit, there's two different types of flares. There's your handheld flares, which usually have a date of expiration right on the side of it that you need to make sure and check. And also you got your flare gun, that usually the gun's okay for several years, but you need to make sure that you check each individual flare to make sure that it's not expired. Now you also need to make sure that both of these things are current and they're also good through the fishing season and not only just not expired now. The first thing we're going to demonstrate is a flare gun. Now the flare gun has 2 or 3 easy steps. Simply take the flares off away from the gun, pull the flare off, unbreech the gun, stick the flare in, and then close the gun. Now you must cock the trigger back for this thing to work, but you don't want to cock it back until you point it away from you. Then you simply cock the trigger, and while pointing away from you, you want to fire it. Straight up. See it? All right, that was the flare gun. Now there's another flare in your kit, and it's called the handheld flare. Now this is used only when you have somebody actually in sight. The first thing you want to do is you want to pop the black cap off, then take the red cap and twist it off and strike it. Remember folks, these flares are dangerous, so you want to keep them away from children, but most importantly, check your emergency kit, make sure these flares are current, and have a safe and happy boating season. I'm Gary Finch for the Great Outdoors, Action News 10.
You know, I just get all excited when Gary fires his flare gun, you know. When your Saturday morning continues, Don Davis will have our weekend forecast, and he'll probably fire his flare too. And I'll go one-on-one with my boss, News Director Chuck Bark. Some good Christmas. Stay with us. A lot of fun things going on this afternoon. We showed you earlier the auction over in West Mobile. Great day to get out and do something.
Yeah, a lot of outdoor activities out there, especially boating stuff. When's the last time you were in a boat?
I know. Well, actually,
you go boating
weekend.
a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Go out to the
Beautiful
bay
day.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty good day to be out in a boat. Here's your boating forecast. We're looking for winds out of the southwest, anywhere from 5 to 10 knots. Seas are anywhere from 2 to 4 feet. That water temperature, very comfortable, coming in at 60 chilly degrees. What about rainfall? You're not going to find it across the southeast, just a little bit in Texas. You can see some way down in here. It's basically light rainfall, but everybody else is in the clear. It looks like it's probably going to stay that way, at least around here. There are a lot of clouds back in Texas and also a lot of cloud cover extending into Louisiana. You can see up near Monroe back to Lake Charles. We've got a lot of cloud cover there. But if you look back across Alabama and much of the state of Mississippi, we do have some clearing skies. So it looks like a lot of sunshine will make it through, especially our stretch of the Gulf Coast for today. Compliments of a large area of high pressure. For today, clouds and sunshine, mild temperatures with highs today only in the mid-70s. Southwest winds will be coming in at 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tonight, more and more clouds. It's going to be comfortable. Hey, we can't complain with lows this evening, anywhere from 50 to 54 degrees with light winds. Here's that all-important extended forecast showing us Sunday, where we'll see more clouds. On Monday, a good chance of rain, especially Monday night. And look at Tuesday and Wednesday. Thunderstorms are back into the picture. We could see a lot of rainfall. 75, 73, 73, 67. Average those out to about 72 for the average high for the upcoming work week. Now here's Amy Greer with News Director Chuck Bark with insight on Action News 10 Saturday morning. Dr. Greer?
Thanks, Don. It was very enlightening. And this morning we have our own Chuck Bark, who is President and General Manager of Vernon Broadcasting, and I understand he's announcing an across-the-board pay raise for everyone. Chuck?
Your mistake. But that was a good try. We've reviewed all of the financial records and we decided to pay cuts.
Oh, that's right. To anyone hired in the last 6 months, I understand.
Anyone who's been here at least 3 years is taking a percentage cut in relation to prorated years. People who've been here less than a year will get an increase.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Your case, obviously. That's you know what that means.
Okay. What are your thoughts on life this morning? I know you're up pretty early. How's your daughter? I understand she's recovering from tonsillitis. It's been a kind of interesting morning. We'll get moving right along. We'll just.
You're supposed to ask me the questions.
Oh, you know, I've won awards for my interviewing skills. You know, I went by Annabelle Crawford's house the other day, and it was torn down.
And the grits?
I saw no sign of any grits, but there was an old junk car sitting on her lot. I thought she might be living in it.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here today.
Well, anything else you want to add? Anything you want to add?
Nope.
This has been Amy Greer and Chuck Bark, and we appreciate your being with us, Mr. Bark. And right now, we're going to head back to Don Davis with a look at health. Don.
Thanks, Amy. I think moving along, each week Nancy Pierce brings us the latest health news and a feature called Health Wise. This morning she tells us what one milady can be very misunderstanding.
Through the years, a wink has been used to convey interest in the opposite sex. But some people literally wink every time they open their mouths. And now there's a surgery to correct it.
Just a 10-year-old boy doing what 10-year-old boys do, no different from any other kid. Just a few months ago, Patrick Stubbs was different. Every time he opened his mouth, his eye would wink.
Before I had the operation at school, my kids used to call me Popeye and One-Eyed Willie, and I'd hate to have to tell them how I was born, that I was born like that and stuff.
From the beginning, Patrick's parents knew something was wrong. The diagnosis, the rare jaw wink syndrome.
Let's see how that eyelid looks.
Finally, a doctor with a cure. Those with the disease have some circuits crossed to the brain. They need rewiring through surgery.
The idea is that you take a little piece of tendon out of the leg and use that to attach the eyelid to the forehead muscle to raise and lower his eyelid. And you disconnect the muscle that tends to make his eye wink when he chews.
Even though Patrick had one eye working normally, doctors operated on both. That way, they'd look the same when he blinked.
Let me see you chew now.
The results, near perfect. Patrick gains full control, putting an end to teasing.
The first day of school this year, nobody called me any names because they saw my eye better, and so I was happy about that.
Just a 10-year-old boy doing what 10-year-old boys do, and never so pleased. Andrea Brody for NBC News.
Years ago, doctors believed children with jaw wink syndrome would outgrow it, but after years of study, they found that was not the case.
Back, we will wrap up this hour with some good news. A bunch of kids who get around without bicycles and probably have more fun. Back in a moment as Action News 10 Saturday morning.
With all the snow the north has been having, you might be wondering how people are getting around. Here's a look at an old-fashioned method that still works.
The relationship between a boy and his dog is a special one. But for 10-year-old Chris Wilhelms and 11-year-old John Miller, that bond involves more than one dog and a fast-paced sport, sled dog racing. Most of us envision sled dog racers, or mushers as they're called, as big burly men with beards, not young boys.
I think it's practice for when we do get big and burly, I guess.
The first thing you do is you put your ganglings on your sled, and then you put your harnesses on your dogs.
Sometimes it seems like it takes longer to hook up the team than it does to actually run them.
Whoever coined the phrase "born to run" must have spent some time with sled dogs. Once you hook these guys up to a line and a sled, you better let them run, and you better hang on.
You hook up on the tail line. A good day is when you finish your race on the sled, and a bad day is when you lose your team and you have to walk in.
John and Chris compete in 3-dog team junior class races across Wisconsin and Upper Michigan, and dream about the day they'll drive a team of 6 or 8 dogs to victory against the big boys. In the meantime, just completing a good training run makes them feel like winners.
They had a good run, Mom. I think we put on at least 4 miles.
In Shawano County, Wisconsin, Jack Jones reporting for NBC News.
When we come back, the latest in the story that just won't go away. What's new with Tanya Harding? The latest gossip up next.
You know, Amy, there's a lot happening on the Gulf Coast today. A lot of people want to get out in the boats and want to go to the beach. It's a great day for that. It's beautiful outside.
Oh, it is. And are you going to let me say anything now?
Go ahead. What
That's
do you want
great.
to say?
You know, of course, we've got Mardi Gras going on and the Azalea Trail Run today.
Exactly.
And we got the Senior Bowl. So kind of a busy day, but I'm sure you can get out and enjoy it because it's a beautiful day.
And the convention center just fell over into the river. Breaking news. We'll have more on that in a moment. But first, let's go straight to the weather forecast. A 24-hour outlook promises sunshine, warm temperatures. In fact, it's going to be so warm out there, you're going to think spring has sprung. But spring does not spring until March 20th. Here's a current surface map. We've got a few clouds out there. Not too bad in the cloud department. It looks like we're going to be mostly clear complements of this big area of high pressure. But as we look ahead to Sunday, we will see some changes. A big storm is firing up back in Texas. That'll move in our direction. Ahead of all of this, we're going to have a lot of cloud cover and a pretty good chance for some scattered showers late Sunday. I pretty much think it's going to be cloudy around here. The rain chance is only about 10 to 15%, but by Monday evening, it jumps all the way up to 70%, so it will be wet by Monday evening. Downtown Mobile, 65 degrees, 75% humidity. Northwest winds at 6. And that pressure is rising, especially over on the news desk with Amy Greer. Here's the forecast for today on the rivers. We have 30.52 at Coffeyville. Flood stage is 29 feet, so we are above flood stage here. Hopefully this river will drop below that by midweek. Moving on to the Alabama River at Claiborne, it's up there at 37.5 feet. So for today, look for clouds, sunshine, mild temperatures, and mid-70s. For this evening, it's going to be great outside, very comfortable with low 50s. And as we look ahead to the extended forecast, doesn't look too good right now. Lots of rain is in the forecast. In fact, strong, possibly severe thunderstorms for Tuesday and Wednesday as that whole system moves through here, Amy. Temperature dropping down to 67 by Wednesday, down to 50 Wednesday evening. Temperature-wise, not too bad. We can't complain about that. And hey, it's going to be a great weekend.
Oh, it is. But get ready for some pretty severe stuff coming our way.
Yeah, midweek. We won't think about that now. We'll just enjoy the sunshine today.
I never think about the future. It's just not a good idea.
That's what I hear about you.
Bye. It's been an absolutely brutal winter up north, so most of us are content to stay here where it's warm. Stop touching my leg. And even though you might not think of Alaska this time of year, James Gordon does. He tells us the last frontier has some pretty neat tourist attractions.
It's still much too cold to visit Alaska, but not too soon to plan. Our 49th state offers some of the most spectacular scenery in the country, and if you're up to it, you might even meet a few guys who can give you the bare essentials.
Your adventure begins with a 30-minute float plane ride out of Juneau on Alaska's Inside Passage, touching down just off Admiralty Island, Bear Central.
You're close enough for me.
Yeah, it's exciting to see you there.
Yeah, it's great.
Each day this summer between July 10th and August 25th, 24 lucky people will get to enter the domain of the Alaskan grizzly to watch them bathe, fish, nap, and play.
It would be difficult to visit any place on Earth that has a greater abundance of brown bears than here on Admiralty Island. They figure there are at least 1,600 here, one for every square mile. That's more than the lower 48 states combined.
Wildlife biologist John Neary helps people understand and appreciate the big grizzlies.
The biggest reward of Pack Creek for me is going out in the sand spit, sitting next to somebody, and they've seen their first brown bear for the first time in their life, and their heart is going...
A few years ago, there were so many people bear watching, wildlife experts feared some would get hurt. Now there are strict limits on visitors. Your food's kept out of claws' reach, and armed escorts guide you to prime viewing areas like Pack Creek.
Our policy here is to always yield and give way to the bear, always.
First thing you learn is that here, the bear is boss. By and large, there are few problems. Still, guides occasionally have to use a bear spray made of cayenne pepper.
It looks like we're just out here to manage people, but the reality is that we're out here mostly with all these rules and regulations to try to protect the bears.
$10 bear watching permits are now available from the Forest Service, but hurry, they're snapped up fast. Some outfitters also have permits. They'll bring you bear watching by plane, kayak, or canoe.
If you'd like to go bear watching in Alaska, contact your local office of the U.S. Forest Service. And as always, book far in advance because the warm weather is a premium in Alaska.
You think James ever been to Alaska?
Probably not, but watching that report, I had to think back. Remember when the bear escaped from the zoo?
That's right.
In Gulf Shores? Yeah, I don't know why that just popped in my
Or the
mind.
one in Russia that ate the woman or attacked her.
And of course, we have Camp Wallbear here on Channel 10 coming up in about a half hour.
That's right. When our Saturday morning continues, we'll have the late ball scores from the West Coast.
And Bob Griffin looks out west for some news on fruit safety. We're talking totally unrelated stories when we come back.
Each week, Bob Grip will take a look at the world of business. In today's report, Bob explores the exciting world of spraying fruit.
The price of fruit is something that can fluctuate as widely as the stock market, and sometimes the reasons have more to do with environmental concerns than anything else.
Helicopters are spraying the pesticide malathion over Southern California neighborhoods again to control yet another suspected infestation of the dreaded Mediterranean fruit fly.
It's a terribly dangerous and terrible pest. It's one of the worst that we have. It will turn a beautiful orange into a rotten mass.
But as residents prepare for another spraying, opposition to the use of malathion grows louder than ever.
The reason we object to the aerial spraying of malathion is because they don't know that it's safe.
Yet agriculture officials say unless they spray, Japan will make good on a threat to boycott some 30 types of California produce favored by the medfly.
It could amount to as much as $1.2 billion in ag exports. It could be the loss of approximately 14,000 jobs.
Growers here worry that if Japan boycotts California produce, other Asian nations may do the same. Even worse, other states might issue quarantines against the fruit, effectively shutting down critical domestic markets.
That would mean that most of the fruit would have to go to products or juice. It wouldn't be worthwhile for me and my fellow growers, therefore, to pick it, because it would cost more to pick than you could get for the oranges.
That prospect doesn't concern residents like Phil Cutler, whose group wants to put an initiative banning malathion spraying on the November ballot.
We're going to have to learn to live with the damn thing. And somebody's going to have to take a hit when it comes to the money, because we may lose the Japanese market.
But California's troubled economy can't afford to lose crucial export markets right now, and so the air war against the medfly continues as Californians take cover. For NBC News, this is Jerry Cobb in Los Angeles.
And just like your mother always told you, always wash your fruit carefully, even if you decide to peel it. New studies show you should even wash bananas.
Our favorite fruit, Bob Grip. Well, you know, we're in that exciting time of year when basketball is heading to the playoffs and baseball's heating up. Lance Crawford has the latest on sports.
Good morning, I'm Lance Crawford, your sports authority. We're going to start with some basketball. The University of South Alabama goes up to play in the quarterfinals of the Sun Belt Conference Tournament against UNO, a team that beat them by 18 points on Monday. What chance do they have? Well, they have a snowball's chance in the Sahara. Let's go to some baseball. The South Alabama Jaguars taking on Jacksonville. Last night at Stinky Field. Oh, top of the first, Jamie J gives up the tater to Andy Holland. 3-run shot. Dolphins lead it 3-0. 5-0 Dolphins in the fourth when the Jags' Jim Bledsoe leans into this one, and it's out there somewhere, but because Robert is afraid to shoot the TV5 sign, we don't really see it leave the park, but it's gone. Trust me there. Jacksonville wins it 6-1. Okay, football news. Dallas Cowboys running back Emmett Smith, you may have heard of him, hurt his shoulder in the final game of the season for the Cowboys, but played the Super Bowl, was the MVP, recovering from shoulder surgery as we speak up in Birmingham. He says the time off should help him.
Actually, the first chance I've had to be on the ground for a long period of time. So I was looking forward to the operation, not only to so my shoulder can get better, but also for an opportunity just for me to get some rest for a change.
It's highly suspected that Smith will never play football again. On the other hand, he could come back next year and win another rushing title. Other football news, the Saints are trying to sign wide receiver Michael Haynes away from the Falcons now. Haynes and the Saints have agreed to a 4-year deal worth $10 million, supposedly. The 6-year wideout is the Falcons' designated transition player. If he does sign with New Orleans, Atlanta has 7 days to match the offer. Not a chance in that one because Haynes only is the 3rd leading receiver on the Falcons roster. The NASCAR stop this weekend is in Richmond, Virginia for the Pontiac 400. Ted Musgrave grabbed the pole. He will line up next to Mark Martin. Musgrave's time, a track record qualifying time of 123 miles per hour. That's not much time.
And when your Saturday morning continues, Don will have a look at your weekend weather.
That's right.
And today, God, today's Take 10, Randy Titano visits a restaurant celebrating its 40th anniversary. Stay with us. For 40 years, a little restaurant at the Loop has been growing up with mobilians and changing a bit as well. In today's Take 10, Randy Titano meets a guy who's ready to change the menu again.
In 1954, everybody liked Ike, and you didn't hit the sock hop on a date without catching a burger and fries at Johnny's Drive-In. 4 decades later, Captain John's is the result of 10 remodelings. The menu is pretty much the same, and you can still find a golden oldie on the jukebox. But in a little while, Captain John's will be missing one very special ingredient, John.
I had canopies and speakers out here, and I had 3-4 policemen just directing traffic. There was so much business out here from teenagers.
John had little trouble with children back then, except for that noisy kid with a guitar he once threw out of the restaurant, a kid named Elvis.
Back in 1954, hamburgers were $6 for a buck, French fries were 15 cents, and the cash register operated with the crank.
In a way, it's still a teenage hangout. The same kids who split a malt now drop in for a drink.
We just drive through and everybody would park and talk to each other, and they had the girls that would come out and take the order outside. That was neat.
Johnny Vallis will sell his restaurant sometime this year, probably to one of his employees.
All right, I'm going to sit on the other side of the bar now and let them wait on me for a change.
Since Johnny Vallis opened this place, we've had 9 presidents. He's taken 5 days off. If anyone's earned a retirement, it's this guy. Randy Titano, Action News 10.
That was a great story. Right now we check in with weather and Don Davis. Beautiful day, Don. What's in store for us?
It is a beautiful day out there, Amy, and it's going to be even prettier. But let's take you to the
Willard.
beaches first and check in on that beach forecast. Here we go. Looks like